All right, we will now open the meeting at 5:13 on 10/13. And all 5 commissioners are present. It is 10:13, I mentioned that, good. And we will now go into executive session for at least 30 minutes to interview one final candidate. So
RCW is?
you
The same one
remind me-
the same one we've used the
Thank
last
you.
couple times? Okay.
I fail miserably. Thank you for reminding me. And it is the same RCW that we've used in the past, which we will get for the minutes. And I can't remember
So what are you
the
saying we're going to do in the executive session?
interview a candidate.
Can I, if I can, I would, because for all fairness, I would like to know what extenuating circumstances there were.
Sure. We sent an email out to everybody, and it was sent to everybody in admin. And unfortunately, there was it went to a different folder than she normally would have gotten it in. And as such, she wasn't aware she'd received the email. So when I called, she was under the impression that she was being contacted for the first time and didn't even know that she had gotten an email from me.
Okay.
So that would be why.
Since we, as a board, made a decision to interview all the candidates on one day,
Mm-hmm.
do we need to tidy this thing up?
It wouldn't hurt at all. Actually, it wouldn't hurt it. No, that wouldn't hurt at all.
Yeah.
Well, the
So-
motion was actually to interview 5 people, and those 5 people were identified.
On such and such date.
that is true.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, it
Okay.
was.
All we
So
need to do is modify that motion to extend till today, from my understanding.
actually, it would be good.
Or make a new motion.
I would
Not
prefer.
modify, because we can't modify that.
That's
previous
correct, sir.
motion. But make a new motion.
Yes. So before we go into executive session, looking at the extenuating circumstances, is there anything from the rest of the board?
I think he's waiting for a motion from someone.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I move that we interview director candidate TJ Herman Fisher today, October 13th.
I have a motion to interview T.J. Harmon Fisher, the final candidate, on October 13th.
Second.
Discussion.
I just want to make sure that I understood this correctly, because I am trying to look at, fairness for all the candidates. Did it go to a junk folder? Is that what
It
we're
did, yeah,
saying?
that's exactly what
Okay,
happened.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it did.
Okay. Well, what I would like to bring up in the future, of course, you and I are not going to be here, but the board needs to own this, that we did not handle this properly, probably as a board, and I think we could acknowledge that. In the future, if we send emails, we need to
Follow up with a phone call.
to follow up with a phone call, but more importantly, I think that person, when they receive the email, they basically, we can send the email to where we know if they've opened it. We could have set it up to where they would reply to us immediately, and then if in a day they hadn't replied, then we could call, because
So maybe a process improvement for the
process
future.
improvement in the future, I think, would be in order. I really do.
Yeah.
Well, it would be an
Yeah.
active confirmation, not a passive one.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's-
And that would
that's a good way
that
to
would
put it.
actually
Thank
fall
you.
back
Yeah,
on
yeah.
me because
No,
I
we
failed
should-
to
we
do
should have done
that.
that.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because because it put you in a kind of a funny situation as well, and I think just going forward, it would
Yes.
behoove us to.
Yeah,
to
no,
do
absolutely.
that.
Well, and
Yeah,
also,
I agree.
if I hadn't received anything from the email, I would not have any idea what was going on today. I would have just sat there and assumed we're going to be talking about the candidates that were present. We would have gone with that, and I would have shown up.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I seen it at noon today. So
And that was my bad because I thought I contacted everybody again. So I own both of those, nobody else. So that was
Well,
on me.
No, I don't
No.
think it's you, Sean. I think
Actually, that
Okay,
is me.
okay.
So no, I will own those. So
Yeah, I guess for the record, I think we are all agreeing that we can improve things,
Yes.
going forward, and that way, if there's anyone that has any concerns, they can see that it wasn't her fault, and it basically is back on us. So,
Yes.
Thank you.
And I would think that one of the ways we could do that is actually put it in new business for the December meeting as a lessons learned or maybe a process
I like
improvement
that.
for
I like that, Sean.
hopefully not for a long time.
fill out sheets of what to do and not to do.
Yes, sir.
SOP, remember that term?
Exactly. Exactly.
Thanks. Doug.
Further discussion? No further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. So with that being said, we will now move into executive session at 5:18 for 30 minutes. We'll call the meeting back in order at 5:48.
Good job.
And we'll now proceed with the agenda. The only thing on the agenda tonight is to make a selection for the final candidates and then determine the process, the final interview process, the details of the final interview process out. Agree on those. So, that being said, we have interviewed, as of tonight, all of the candidates.
I'd like to make a motion that we narrow the field of candidates to three for the final interviews to be discussed.
A second.
We have a motion to narrow the candidates to the final three with a second. All in favor? Or discussion, I'm so sorry.
So question, this is just a ballparky thing, it's not leading anywhere other than keeping our options open. If for whatever reason we found, okay, let's put it this way, and I'll be as brief as I can about it. Last time we reduced, and I think we all felt that was the right thing, but then we kind of ended up in a position where we had one candidate. I don't know that anything would have been different, by the way. But if we reduce to three and then we find, for whatever reason, that there is no agreement to be made for those, can we go back to the rest of the pool? Do you understand what I'm
Yeah,
asking?
we could amend the motion to say if we need to, we could always amend the motion.
I would amend the motion that if one of the three, for whatever reason, drops out, then we as a board
Oh,
would go to, we would go to the next person and,
So you want to rank the other two, basically? Is that what you're
no,
saying?
that we would have a,
Yeah, I get you. That we'd have a chance to go,
that we would have a special meeting to discuss, you know, an additional candidate.
okay. So the amendment, let me make sure I understand this. The amendment would be we narrow the field to three with the option to have a special meeting if that final candidate doesn't work out to discuss additional candidates.
Yes, thank you. Yes,
right.
thank you.
Right, okay,
Thank you.
sorry.
no, second.
Okay. Do I have a second for the amendment?
You just-
Cecil, oh, thank you very much, Cecil. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Discussion for the three candidates.
I make a motion that we sit there and do an up and down vote on each candidate, and out of that if the first candidate, if three people vote for them, it would go on. If there was three people where we all agreed on, that would be the three people that we would do. If there was a tie, then we would sit there and vote on that person only, but all the ones that we agreed on. I kind of lost myself in that discussion.
Okay, so first off, I will interrupt your motion if I may.
Please do. This is
Thank
getting
you.
too late.
No, thank you. Because there's a motion on the floor and I don't want to stop a motion. However, I would say procedurally, I don't think we need to have a motion to do an up and down vote.
We don't?
I'm not sure if we do. It wouldn't hurt to be safe. And I would prefer that, I think. I think we all would. But maybe just say up and down vote, and then we can have another
Just
motion.
stop right there. Up
Yes,
and
sir.
down vote
Yeah,
for each candidate.
so to clarify the motion on the floor is,
To have an up and down vote for each candidate.
so there's a motion to have an up and down vote for each candidate. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Further discussion?
I'm not entirely sure that I know exactly what you're talking about, so can you just clarify a process for me?
as the first person comes up, all 5 of us say we agree on that. Well, just that. Well, 4, you're right. That we 4 agree upon that. Then that person most likely would go, be one of the 5 or the 3 candidates. As we go down, if we have one person that we vote 1 for, and that's all they get, well, they're pretty much knocked out of it. If we have 2 candidates where 3 of us voted for, and we have all 2 slots filled already, then we're looking for that 3rd slot, then that person there, we would have a vote, that's the person we would be discussing on getting another vote for, or which of them 2 we would want.
And are we each limited to only voting yes on 3 people?
No,
Oh, we could vote on anybody, okay.
yeah, because as we go through it, there's people that you think that you want to vote for.
Yes,
There's some that you don't want to vote for. You don't vote for the ones you don't want to vote for.
okay.
And in this event, the chair votes in the up and down vote as well, right? Is that true?
I would think
Again, I'm
you
just
would in
making sure
this
procedure-
case,
I
actually.
would think
Oh, I
so,
would
that
think
you
so, that's
would.
why, okay.
There are instances, for
There's a-
example, in the House of Representatives, where the speaker has.
I will vote as long as there's not a tie, and then I'll wait. How about this? I will vote last on each person. That way I ensure that there's no tie for me to break the tie on. So for each person I will vote, but I'll just make sure I'm last that way.
If there is a tie,
Yes,
you still
I would
The
break it,
problem I
right.
have with this is, since people aren't limited to how many they can vote for, you may have a case to where you have more than 3.
And then we'll just, well, I should
then
say,
that's who we
Yeah.
discuss on.
there you go.
But isn't it then just the top 3, right? Because a perfect up would be 5-0, a perfect down would be 0-5, but what you're really trying to do is go, where does the line go past the top 3? Where does that line go? And those people proceed on. I'm really not trying to make this difficult. I'm just trying to make sure I understand.
No, that's fine.
But then you kind of go, oh, well, if there is a natural line, you go, these ones are above the line and these ones are not.
Right.
But if the line falls somewhere, with more or less, well, it would have to be more, like, then that's when we have to discuss people of equal standing.
Because I'm in a situation where, I went through and I graded people like I was asked to do originally. And anyway, and I actually, in my mind, have my top 5, and I've got them, so.
Ranked, meaning.
Good.
You have them ranked.
So but in this case, and this is my point,
That's when it would
I
come down
can't
to
vote for all
discussion.
5 of them.
Right.
So that's why I think really it gets into the situation where everybody should be voting for their top 3, not 4, not 5, but 3. 'Cause-
Well, I'll tell you straight out, I'm
Yeah.
voting for my top 3.
Okay, well, that's what I'm going at.
But,
But you
you know,
see
like
where
I
it could
said,
get
there's
very
people-
convoluted if everybody's like, I like all 5 of them. Yes. We're like,
Well, if somebody wants to be
Yeah.
wishy-washy, that's fine.
Ooh, no judgment attached there either.
No, there wasn't.
Yes, wishy-washy is so subjective, it's so objective, it's such an objective.
Someone with the spine of a noodle.
Further discussion before you vote on the up and down vote
You know, in that
motion.
meeting we're going to have in December, things not to do.
That would be one of
That's
them.
probably one of them.
All right.
Wishy-washy?
All in favor of the up and down motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. So, to move the up and down motion along, I have a list of names. I will call them out. Steve McCaslin.
So we,
I need 4s. Anybody for Steve McCaslin?
aye.
Aye.
Aye. All 4s, Eric Gerber.
Aye.
Oh, it's like an Amber Alert thing, I'll bet you. Sorry, I don't.
That's why everybody's phone's going off.
No, it's mine.
No, there was some, my phone actually went
No,
off.
it
Mine, no
doesn't-
one
it
ever
doesn't
calls
allow you
me.
to.
You're right. It is
Yeah.
an Amber Alert
Yeah,
in
that's-
Yakima City. Ooh.
Oh.
I'm so there.
All right.
Sorry.
Everybody done with their phones?
Yes.
All 4, Boyce Jeffries.
Oh, wait a minute, so Gerber was 1.
One for 1 for, 4 nays.
Okay.
Steve McCaslin was 3 fours, 2 against.
And what did you say the next?
Eric Gerber was
No,
1.
Who's the next?
I haven't done that yet. She's getting
said
cut
a name.
We have to
Boyce,
talk.
Boyce Jeffries.
Aye.
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 Say it out loud for the.
Boyce Jeffries is 4-4, 1 against. Tara Hazan,
Aye.
Aye.
aye, that's 3-4, 2 against. And TJ Harmon,
Aye.
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 aye,
No.
4-4, 1 against.
Did that help out or not, or do we
We're now.
discuss
It
everybody?
actually does, because that would take
So these two.
Boyce Jeffries and TJ Harmon both had 4-4, 1 against. So those would automatically, just by the rankings, move forward. So TJ and Boyce are moving forward. That leaves us with Steve McCaslin and Tara as the next possible person. So, discussion before we revote.
I would ask that people reconsider Tara. This is a person that, in this community, when you look at her in this community, she's a person that's been able to build relationships with people, not just the people of the community, but leaders in the community, even outside of the community. This is a person that she has that X factor, that innate ability, I think, just to connect with people. And the one thing that we're looking at is if this levy doesn't pass in 14 months, or what, 2 years, 24 months, this pool's gonna be closed. And she is one of these people that I've watched her, I've seen her. She has this way to connect with people, and I think that she could be a person that would be instrumental in ensuring that when we move forward, when you listen to her talk about her vision, she's just one of these people that's able to describe a vision. And I think being able to connect with people, that vision becomes alive, not just in her, but in them too. And I think going forward, she's the type of person that this place has been desperately needing. When we look at the last few years, the one thing that we've taken a hit on consistently is this reputation that this place seems to have. Whether it's played out in the Whitby News-Times, or whether it's played out in the workplace, whether it's played out in people's homes. The one thing that you hear about the pool, I mean, it's just the drama. And this is a person that I think could help us with that. And I think we would be making a grave mistake not to include her in this next process.
The one
Because
thing-
she's a person that, interviewed by phone. And the one thing that I have to to ask is that if we consider her, I think that what you're going to see is when she interviews in person, that ability to connect with people. And in this position, it's important. And anyway, that's what I've got to say. Thank you. By the
Commissioner
way.
Pierce?
The one thing I was going to sit there and add to that also is the fact is, the one thing we all stumble at is dealing with the RCWs. And as far as
Yes, that's
how
true.
we're supposed to hold meetings and as far as all that stuff there goes, she has a lot of knowledge with that, and they can really sit there and bring a lot of stuff to us. And she has a lot of personal knowledge, with the government, with grant writing, and there's just a lot of stuff that she's going to bring to us that can really be beneficial, that I think would be great for the district.
Sean? Oh, I'm sorry.
That's good. I have my concern with Tara. I read her resume, and it's an impressive resume for what she does. I don't see a lot of leadership, as in someone who has to do the day-to-day running around and telling people, firing people, telling them what to do. I also, if she's so busy with the city council, this is her job that she's going to get paid for. That's my concern. I want someone whose primary consideration and concern is this job, being here every day, and not doing the city council stuff that she does so well.
Yeah.
That's my concern. I want someone, this is their job and they know that.
Well, the question I would have on that though is, I mean, you know, this is a person that needs to be employed. And I, you know, I think I mean, I understand what you're saying, but to put her in that box to where she would let that affect her work, I think would be unfair. Because if you did that, then, I mean, not that this takes as much time as the city council, at the same time, it would be saying that the only people that should be able to be, you know, I mean, I have a job too, and I don't let this interfere with my job. And I think that she would be able to, you know, to handle both of those. I mean, it would be unfair to say that because she's on the city council, she's not employable. You know, that she couldn't dedicate the time she needed to be effective. And, you know, the one thing I would say about the city council, this is a person that, when you look at all the drama that surrounds that city council, she's been able to stay out of the drama. That's a pretty amazing thing, especially when you look at the drama that surrounded this place for the past 3 years. Having a leader that could somehow rise above some of that, and you know, I think that she knows how to navigate through that's why. And
If we could move on to Mr. McCaslin, I feel like it's just as important to highlight why we selected him. And I will say
well,
that.
real quick, I do understand that.
Okay,
But
hold on.
Well, no,
at the
but
same
you,
time-
no, wait a minute.
No, I'm not going to stop here.
No,
Because at the same
Hey, both stop, please.
No.
No, hold on, whoa. Back the truck up. Hold on. You had finished. She had started. We're going to let Commissioner Shingleton finish her
the way
comment.
it was said,
I understand, but that she still has the floor. Commissioner Shingleton, please.
Thank you. So just as we highlighted the positive attributes of one candidate, I would prefer to focus on positive attributes, and that's what I was getting to. And we haven't highlighted them. We focused on positive and negatives 1%. I'd really rather focus on positives of both, or either or. What I wanted to say about Mr. McCaslin is that his demonstrated business experience, I think, is exactly what this district needs right now. I think that while he is new again to the area, the experience that he brings, his breadth of understanding of many things related to the pool, whether it's business, whether it's an understanding of the Navy, I believe that there are a lot of positive attributes, and I do believe that a lot of the bleeding that we are experiencing, I mean, outside of drama, outside of other things that this district experiences, we are in a financial crisis, and I believe we need someone who can manage day-to-day operations, build up the place, and resolve that financial crisis. When we interviewed previously for a director, I know that one of the things at the outset, or rather at the conclusion of that, but at the conclusion of that activity, I remember a discussion about, and I apologize if I'm attributing it to the whole board, because I certainly don't mean to incorrectly, but there was a discussion about, gee, maybe pool experience is less important, and I think we're talking about that in both cases, but we talked about a strong business foundation being very important, so for me, that is something that I thought then, personally, that is something that I still continue to believe. And I think that this person has the leadership experience, the business experience, to get us where we need to be. And I would say additionally that ultimately and ideally, it's really the board's role to have a strategic vision and to further it. That does happen in conjunction with the district and with the director. But I think that's really our role to set that. And so it's really with that interest of knowing that the day-to-day stuff is being handled, which is honestly not, for many, many different reasons, is not a luxury that the board has had, I think, anytime recently. And that's what I would be looking for moving forward.
Also,
Let me say this, I was going to say positive things also about Steve, and it wasn't just what I was saying about Ms. Heisen. You know, I really do appreciate his business background. I really do. And I can understand how you feel about that. So.
Any further comments from the board?
Just a procedural question.
Yes.
Just in terms of, so we are, as opposed to an up and down, or is it still an up and down?
We're still in
or
an
now
up and
it's-
down. We're still
okay,
in the motion
okay.
for an up and down.
Okay.
And what we'll do is I started at the top of the list. I will go backwards this time instead of forward. I started with Steve last time, so this time I'll start with Tara in the interest of being fair, just swapping it around,
But only for those two?
but only for these two,
Okay.
Tara and Steve. Because they were both tied at 3 and 2. Is that correct, Commissioner Holly?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. So, up and down, Tara Hazan.
Aye.
2-4. 3 against. Steve McCaslin. Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
No.
Steve McCaslin moves forward. So, the 3 candidates then are Steve McCaslin, Boyce Jeffries, and TJ Harmon.
And in the, oh, sorry. No, I know. I was just trying to clarify. So based on the way that the motion, this is clarification.
Yes, please.
So based on the way that the motion was presented, is if we go to a 4th candidate, has that person been determined, or it would be from the remaining 2? I'm just trying to procedurally understand.
Good question.
The way the 2 motions were set, because the first motion was
Okay.
for 3 candidates.
Okay. And then, okay.
I move that we then put Tara as our automatic 4th candidate based on this up-down voting that we did. She is, I think, the automatic, or not automatic, but that's how we voted her. She's obviously the 4th candidate, in my opinion, based on
Okay,
the voting.
so we need to have, we
Okay.
have a motion to make it 4 candidates instead
No,
of
no,
3.
no, no, no. That if we have to, with the amendment, if one of the 3 drops out, we already know who the 4th one is. My motion is that she is that 4th person. That we've already
I don't think there
gone
was a
through.
motion to have an alternate.
Yes,
Well, the special meeting, it's like, if one of the 3 drops out, special meeting to discuss the additional candidate. I don't think we need to have this additional meeting. I think we know who the 4th candidate is from the 5. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So my motion is that because of the results of this vote, that next candidate in line, if one of the 3 drops out, or whatever, that 4th candidate is Tara Hazan. We don't even have to have a discussion about it again.
All right. Do we have a second?
I second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Now, the next on the agenda is how we want to proceed with the final interviews. In the past, we brought the final candidates here to include those out of state and paid for travel costs. We have that same dilemma this time with Mr. Boyce Jeffries being in California. How does the board wish to proceed with 3 candidates, 2 local and 1 out of state?
I mean, I was on the phone, and other than when someone said, "How's it going?" I thought you were talking to me. I thought that worked fine, and I don't think he's that disadvantaged by being on the phone, Skype, as opposed to being in the room. So, and we just don't have the money. I think rather than spend the money, we should just go ahead with a Skype interview and have the others come in person.
It can't be like the last Skype interview. Not something this important. Because that Skype interview was sketchy. There were things that I couldn't hear.
Yes.
And that's why, I mean, I'm when you really look at it, it's causing to question some things. But it's like going forward, when we're talking about putting this whole district in the hands of someone, Skype interview, I mean, unless this man had a better connection than that, it wouldn't be fair.
I agree.
Yeah.
There was a lot of hit and miss with him. And
We were trying to figure out the essence, I think, of what he said, but there were things that, I mean, let's be honest. I mean,
Yeah. No, I mean, I was listening on the phone and
yeah,
I heard just fine.
yeah.
I take that back. There was one part where I didn't understand what he said, but otherwise I heard him fine and I was impressed.
Yeah.
We can go down there.
No,
That's
I'm ready for a motorcycle ride right now. I can leave now.
I mean,
No.
did we know it was his Skype on his personal thing or something? So maybe.
It sounded like it was his
yeah, I
personal
mean,
on his
honestly, a phone would be better than that, because I think Tara was much easier to understand on the phone than he was hooked up to Skype. Don't.
Yeah,
Do
I
you guys
agree.
agree?
I agree.
It froze up. I mean,
Yeah,
that's,
yeah.
it froze
Yeah.
up.
Then maybe that do it on the phone instead. Do we need to see their face?
I mean, I don't
I
know.
think we do, actually. I mean, I think, and personally,
Yeah.
I mean, I think I completely understand and I actually agree with your concern. However, I agree with
Yeah.
Stephen that this is the most important, this is actually the most important thing we can do this year.
I agree with that.
And so for that matter, I think we have to find the money. If he is interested in proceeding, I think we have to, because I think the other thing is that we have I think everyone believes, or most everyone believes, that the personable part is really important to this job, and I think we gotta
True,
know
you're right.
that,
You're
right?
Can I
Okay.
ask you a question?
Please.
What if we did the interview process with 3, and if he is our guy, if we're like, this is the person we want, then it would all be contingent upon him coming for a FaceTime interview? I mean, because I would also have a problem paying for him at this point if he's just one of 3. I mean, that's.
So in other words,
I mean,
doing
Oh,
three
okay.
doing 3 interviews, and then if we decide that's
that is
the guy,
person we would like.
the person. Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
yeah.
Okay.
That is the person. Then we move
That's a good idea.
forward with
Yeah,
A personal.
a contingent.
yeah,
I like that.
yeah, okay.
So then, procedurally, we want to have one final interview.
Yes, because it would be the same for everyone. Whatever the interview, the next step is that those 3, and then whoever the person we identify as, that is the person we want, then that person, everything's contingent upon the last interview. Would you guys be good with that?
I think that's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Final
Yeah.
in-person interview.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
Okay, so
Okay.
final
That's a good
interview for all 3 with
suggestion.
the definitive interview in person.
Yes.
Okay.
And at that point, we could take that, I mean, my opinion, you could take them around, take whoever around the pool, let them meet the senior staff, let the staff meet them, you know, kind of like we did, maybe not to the length with Mr. Ricardo there, but that way, you know, because even the next step is going to be for 2 of the 3 face to face. But that last interview,
Yeah.
well, we can sit down with the senior staff. So what did you think about this person? It's like bells going off, you know, or yeah, they were awesome.
Well, I think we'd have to, I mean, if you're throwing that in there, we have to determine then what the criteria
Yeah,
is.
you're right,
And
you're right,
that
you're right.
becomes a little,
Yeah, you're
so
right.
it's just a final, I mean, if we were saying contingent upon a final in-person,
Okay, that's good. Yeah, I'll be good with that.
whatever, you know, because the other thing is if we're, whoever that person is for the final round, if we're saying we're gonna narrow it to 1, whoever that person is, that's really, that's really also a good opportunity in time, assuming that we're deciding to extend an offer to do salary negotiations, just as a thought.
Yes.
Um,
On that note, I would
Yes.
also like to say that I believe salary negotiation should be done with the entire board and not just the chairperson as we've done in the past.
Yes.
Yes.
Good.
And you know
All right.
what might not be a bad idea, seriously, before the final interview. I mean, to really, they need to understand in this next process, the window financially that we're speaking about. I mean, don't you guys agree with that?
Well, didn't they every single one of them I thought put in there, here's what because we asked
not-
them to.
I think
Oh, the one
not
person did
everyone.
not.
Yeah, not everyone did.
But you know what I'm saying, yeah.
Well, it's it's
Yeah.
expectation setting, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
because
Yeah, I mean, I understand there's the final contract negotiation, but they need to know coming in, man, this is what
Yeah.
we're looking at.
Especially before we spend money to bring someone
Yeah,
to California.
exactly.
But he actually did put in what he
Okay,
thought,
okay.
and
Maybe
I thought
part
it
of
was
that
within the.
final in face, we can do a budget review with that person.
Okay,
Well, yeah, we may even.
Since we're talking about the
and
process now.
Send them the budget.
But before we put the cart before the horse,
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
talk about the interview of the final 3,
Okay.
if everybody's
Yes.
in agreement.
Okay.
So for the interview with the final 3, We agreed 2 will be face-to-face. 1, as you said, sir, I will talk to Mr. Jeffries and see if he has an alternate Skype or just
Okay.
do a phone-in so we have a better, more
Yeah,
clear.
okay.
Okay?
I
So we'll
do agree that the Skype is optimum if possible.
Okay.
Okay.
And I will offer that to him, say, and explain
Yeah.
to him why, what our concerns are. How would the board like to proceed with the final interview of the 3 candidates? Or the next, not final is the wrong, incorrect word. The next interview with
second
the 3 candidates, yes.
Question, sorry,
No.
it's a little off track, but it's still, when do we do background checks?
We can do background checks we can do that at any time. Background checks cost us $100 each, I believe.
I would,
So our subscription thing doesn't qualify then? I thought we had a subscription
We do. I
that,
didn't think it was that much.
Okay.
I thought it was-
sorry, well,
Yeah, but
if it doesn't cost us anything more, I would say let's do it now. If it costs us more,
it
then I would
does-
say, then let's make that contingent, final contingency.
yeah, I would say just do it on the one, when we pick the final person, and then, so that employment is contingent on the face-to-face interview and the background check completion, or successful background
So
check.
only background check the final interviewing.
Now, a question, as far as the final interview with the background check and stuff, would we have the background check done before?
We could.
Okay, because that would finally, if we're gonna do it, it should be done before.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah.
So the procedures for the next interview of all 3 candidates. How would the board like to proceed? How many questions? How do we want to tailor the questions? Do we want to do any procedural things like send them budgets and ask them, to give us a quick synopsis of what they see and possible solutions? What would you all like to see
I
for
think
that final interview?
I think sending them a budget would be very instrumental in getting a good idea on what they're looking at. And, that is one of the things that we are facing a big hurdle. And we already asked every one of them, we are $15,000 in debt. What are you going to do? And a couple of them had answers, raised stuff, but most of them sat there and said, well, until I see the budget, I would really look stuff over. So
I would-
that's one of their questions. What
I would
you
send
do?
them 5 years of budget to see what they do with it. And I want to know what they're going to do about fundraising or raising money, because most of them, the top
Well-
ones said, yeah, that's what I want to do, but a lot did not have particulars.
I think 5 years of a budget is excessive, and
Okay.
the reason, here's why, is because the P&L varies between year to year. So somebody who knows what I
Oh.
am supposed to be looking at, it's still confusing. And so the thing is it's like, is this a test? And it's like, it's really not. It's not meant to be. I mean, it's really the what are you going to do with the budget part of it, not comparing year to year. So
Okay.
it's kind of like spaghetti in a way. And so maybe 2 years, but I think 5 years is excessive.
Okay.
So how about I send all 3 the 2015 budget and ask for a summary of the budget with proposals for 2016? Is that more of a fair way to evaluate a candidate's abilities? Because remember, at the end of the day, that's what
Yeah.
we're doing. We're evaluating a candidate's abilities.
Yes.
So the first thing we could do is send all 3 the budget, 2015 budget, which is last year's budget already approved.
Yeah.
2015 is this year's.
Yes, 2015
sorry.
is this year's budget. No, I stand corrected. And ask for a summary of the budget, strengths and weaknesses, and for their proposals for 2016.
Now, are you sending them our 2016 proposed budget or not?
No.
Okay. Okay.
So you're sending them the budget, not the P&L?
That's correct.
Okay.
If you want me to send the P&L, I will.
Well, I think.
This is what we're talking about.
I mean, a budget is just a budget is balanced, and the problem is we are not.
Right, so
That's
send them
what-
the
oh, yes.
P&L and the budget.
Yeah.
Yes, and yes, with the note that unfortunately the P&L budget numbers are not necessarily accurate. And I'm not saying that to throw stones at anybody. It's just so that they have an understanding that this is the accurate budget, this is the accurate P&L. Unfortunately, they're not always the same, but yeah. But I
Okay,
think
so
that's.
can we do that fairly?
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
I don't understand how
Is
it would be
that
unfair.
fair? Is it?
Oh, I think,
Okay, I'm just
Is
throwing
that-
As long
it.
as
there
they
a
all
way it
get
would
the
be
same
unfair?
information, yeah. I don't-
Okay.
How would it be unfair?
So we send all three, the P&L and the budget for 2015, and ask for a summary with proposals.
Yes.
I would also love to see some sort of work product. Personally, I financial. Whether it's but some sort of gee, if I don't have something financial to provide you with in terms of whether it's from a project, whether it's from I'll give an example, and I'm not trying to zero in on anybody in particular, but gee, I built a pool in the past. Okay, great. I would love to see what tools you used, how you managed that project from inception to completion. I know that's a lot of work products, but meaning some sort of work product, and I would really love for that person to in a, let's call it presentation format, but walk us through it. Not standing up in front of us, because that would be unfair, but talk us through the document. So we get the document ahead of time and talk us through what your role was, what you did, what are the challenges you faced. It's basically a project review, if you will, for some accomplishment. Is that fair? I mean, does that make sense? Okay.
How long are we looking at on the interviews taken for each one?
Okay, hold on.
Because-
Can see if I may?
Go ahead.
Because if we're going to send this out, I want to make sure I understand it. Thank you, sir. Please remind me, we're going to that next. So we're going to request a product from each candidate.
And there might be a better, I realize that, my terminology
Yeah,
is based on my experience.
No, I get it.
I wrote down a worked product of past project accomplishment.
Work product from each candidate from
Or management, I guess, right?
From
Past
Past-
project management.
project,
Or management, meaning
Or-
it could be
yeah.
day-to-day management.
accomplishment, or management.
Yeah.
So, I'm thinking project-wise, but it really could be day-to-day management. Gee, this is my P&L, and here's what I did to manage it, or here's this thing I developed.
Or management task, and present. How long do you want the presentation to be? 5 minutes, 10
And
minutes,
that's what you were
15
asking.
minutes?
I mean, that's part of what you were asking,
That's
right?
part
Yeah,
of it,
yeah,
but
yeah.
as a whole
And I think that's
overall, 'cause,
fair.
I mean,
Right.
this can get pretty.
Yeah, so how
And,
long,
yeah.
so how long do we want to make this work project or management task presentation be?
5 minutes. With questions. But after.
Oh, I don't think 5 minutes is nearly enough, to be honest with you.
Really?
No.
I think it's more like 20. Meaning, she said with questions.
Yeah, I would say 5 minutes that they prepare a 5-minute presentation to go through the stuff with us, and then we have 15 minutes to ask questions about it.
I was gonna
So-
say 15-minute presentation with 5 minutes for questions.
Why don't you say then 20 minutes?
Well, you know what? I would put maximum, by the way. I wouldn't,
Okay.
you know what?
Yeah.
You don't have to talk for 15 minutes. If it doesn't take you 15 minutes, that's okay,
So
right?
maximum of how many minutes?
I don't know. 15's fine. Whatever. I mean, that's a long time.
15 minutes?
It's a long
Yeah.
time to talk.
It is, but the idea of the work product is that we can see something, and they're really just explaining to us what they did, so that we get a good idea of experience and work style.
Yeah.
And we would need a copy of that, each of us.
In advance.
Beforehand, that we
And
could
she
look at
already said-
beforehand.
she already
Yep,
said that.
Yep.
Copy of presentation.
Am I killing you with this?
Nope,
Okay.
in advance. No, you're gonna help me send it out.
The punishment,
That's right.
the retribution.
All right, so I've got all three of the P&L and the budget for 2015 asked for a summary with proposals. A work product from a past project accomplishment or management task, which is a presentation, max of 15 minutes with questions, a copy of that presentation in advance. What else do we want to have?
Now, also, one thing before we go to the next one, time limit for the budget, profits and loss that we're gonna send, we need a time limit for that, how long we want them to talk for that.
Good point.
Huh?
How long would you like to limit that talk?
10 minutes?
Absolutely. That's what I was
10
thinking.
minutes for budget, profit, and loss. Excellent. Next,
like, this came up before, like, I'll call it case studies, but I don't know if that's really the right term. So some situational questions. So given some of the, let's call it exciting opportunities that have happened over the past year, hey, what would you do if?
Okay, how many situational questions would we like to have?
Thank you, situational.
As many as we can think.
There's no good.
It'd be endless, that could be an endless list.
But I think-
Yeah, because I think, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, we're talking like, what happens if, you know, the pump goes out? I mean, are we looking at stuff like that?
I think it's that. I think it's employee related stuff.
I would say in the past, what
Um,
I've done with situational
Yeah.
questions,
Oh,
because
I
I do
got
this a
you.
lot,
I see.
is
Right.
you have an employee that, exactly what both of you were going at, you have an employee that is a minor in high school who is working 20 hours every week and comes to you and wants to work more. What steps do you need to take to ensure that this employee
Okay.
meets all the state requirements and the state legal requirements to work as a minor?
Yeah.
You have a boiler that blows up in the middle of the weekend. What procedures do you take? What would be your action plan?
I think another, I think a really good one is the pool temperature, right? You have a group of people who would like it here, and not to be divisive about it, but actually to be like, this is a real situation.
So my proposal right now is, as we go through this, because we're
Okay.
defining what we want to do,
Okay.
and we're in an open public meeting,
Right.
and I really want to be transparent, is we decide what those situational questions are now,
Okay.
and add them in tonight, so they're there now. So,
I think the pool temperature is one. I mean, I think it's a really valid one because it's not
chlorine
easy.
levels, stuff like that.
so how would you like to phrase that situational question?
Well, I guess, I think, are you going basically at, you know, like, basically how do you handle controversy with delicate situations with people?
It's so for example, let me try this, and I know I'm going to get it a little bit wrong, but one group of people who utilizes the pool would like to see the temperature maintained warmer. The other group of people would like to see it maintained cooler. What do you do? I mean, we could give them more detail about it, but really it's you know, these are vocal, and I think that's part of it, is they're both vocal groups.
How do you handle two opposing views?
How would you handle?
Is that where you're kind
Yep.
of weird?
Well, yeah, but I mean, I think it's really specific to, you know, for example.
it could be lap swimming too. I mean, lap swimming and, you know, like in the morning, high school girls get these many lanes, lap swimmers want these many lanes, who gets, I mean, that's it, things like that too. So it's not just, I mean.
No, I
yeah,
understand.
yeah,
I understand.
yeah.
And to me, it's less about, well, this group's right or that group's wrong, and it's more about, again,
Just
decision making
find a
and
happy medium
processing.
place where
Well,
we can all
and how do you
coexist.
process the information? Because they're not going to know. They're
Yeah.
not going to know the right
Yeah.
answers, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's not really the
Yeah. No, I
expectation.
get
Except for boys, probably.
Well,
Yeah, I guess we can say it. Yeah.
I'm just saying.
How would you handle? So I would say, how would you handle? And please give me feedback on this. This is why we're doing it. How would you handle two vocal groups that desire a clear decision on a day-to-day operation at the pool?
Ooh, that's good.
Can I just stop real quick, I'm sorry. Do you understand that these questions now are part of public record, which means that the person now can go do research on these if they listen to the audio file?
That is actually a very good point, Steve.
Oh,
And
you
then- and
didn't,
the parent- and-
you didn't
and-
know that? I thought you did.
No, I actually hadn't thought about it, but
So
in trying to
do
be as transparent as I can.
Dude, and I just thought you knew that, and so you wanted them
Well-
to have the option to think about this stuff if they care. Because there are certain people that are probably going to be listening to this meeting as soon as it's posted.
At which case, if we're going to do that with questions, then I would look at, we should just submit those questions to them, and then they know what to look at.
Or just tell them in the email and say, by the way,
Hey.
we discussed what questions we're going to ask you at the interview, and see who has the
So when I
You know,
send them the
people-
budget and the project and the notification, we include the questions and the,
Yeah.
okay?
Unless you
Okay,
want
sure, yeah.
it to be spontaneous type questions.
I don't know that it needs to be though, but it's a good point you raised, because I was kind of.
So we send them all to them when we're finished with this. We'll make that decision. We will make that decision as a board tonight. How to, okay?
Can we also send them something that is, sorry, I know it's slightly off topic, but I just don't want to, because you were talking about the things you're sending them. Can we also send them, I'll call it an org chart. Obviously, we don't want it to be the phone list with everyone's contact information on it. It doesn't even have to have names, but an understanding so that somebody understands what the organization looks like, that everyone understands what the organization looks like.
Hold on to
Do we
that
have-
idea. Let's get to that when we're
Okay,
done
sorry.
with this.
Okay, thank you.
So how would you handle 2 vocal groups that desire a clear decision on a day-to-day operation at the pool?
Do you want
Clear
to
to
put it
clear,
for instance, or just
opposing.
leave it?
Yeah.
A clear,
opposing.
a clear 2 vocal groups that desire an opposing
Takes the fun out of situational. but,
clear decision on a day-to-day operation at the pool. Okay? B.
Something I would also look at is a question dealing with, I don't know how to phrase it, but we've had directors that were badgered numerous times in public meetings and stuff like that, how they would handle that. And like I said, I can't think of a correct way to ask the question, but
That sounds good to me. You know, how do you handle being badgered in public?
How would you handle being a
Question.
public office?
Openly questioned in
Open-
public.
How would you handle, being openly questioned and criticized?
yes,
Criticized.
because we're not
Include-
just
I was
talking about
saying
being
including
openly
your
questioned, we're talking about
integrity.
being badgered, about being beat down
Yeah.
Criticized
continuously.
Yeah, badgered. Good word.
In a public forum.
Criticized. is
in
the
a
more
public
polite
forum.
term.
It is.
So how would you handle being openly questioned and criticized in a public forum? C. Good, we've got 2
Continuously,
continuously.
not just once.
I don't know, I
How
think,
about just in a public forum and leave it there? That way,
Over and over.
I would honestly, and I don't know where you want to put this, if you agree, but I would love to have them explain the value of the different programs in the district.
Good
I
one.
mean,
describe the value of each.
yeah.
Do we want to do each program, or do you want to pick programs? What do you guys want?
No,
Why don't you leave it up to
I
them
would
and then
like-
see
because
what they,
honestly, and I don't know how y'all feel, but I would like to know what they think the centerpiece is and what things are important. And, I mean, because we all know that things are going to get tight at times and decisions are going to need to be made. And I would like to know where the person stands and what they think.
And
So describe the values
Of
of the district's programs.
and facilities? Because then
Yeah.
that brings in the off-leash
The
dog
dog-
park,
yeah.
for example, right? I mean,
That's still a program, but,
But it
facilities is also.
It's
Well, I think
one of our
programming.
programs. It's
I
one
think
of our-
when a
that we
person
should
hears
spend money
programming,
on.
they think of something organized and structured, though. Something where you're being paid for
Maybe facilities and programs then, or programs and
being charged
facilities.
for. Yeah.
Are we providing them with information?
It's online.
It's not all online. That's why I say that.
Oh.
Is diving online? It's not. For example, right? But we still, at some points, we consider that's our definition of programs has.
You mean scuba classes from?
Yeah.
Okay.
Give it up.
Yeah.
You say diving, and I automatically think the board, and I'm like, well, that's only the high school team, and that's not one of our programs. So, but yes,
Well, and that's, to me, it's the level set for fair evaluation.
so
Yeah.
what list would you like to do to provide for them? For the programs and facilities?
What do we have online?
And the only reason I know scuba diving is part of it
Aquatics,
is because it's on the schedule.
Aerobics, the swim club,
Lap swim.
is
Open
lap swim on, lap swim, open swim,
Swim
and
lessons.
swim lesson. Oh, I said swim
Oh,
school.
sorry.
But you're
I
right.
don't believe the off-leash
Kayaking.
dog park, and I don't believe the baseball fields are on there.
No.
There's like a
Kayaking
sentence somewhere
isn't
that
on
says we
there.
also
I
have
mean-
off-leash dog park, but it's
Okay,
all about the
so
pool.
shall we give them 3 programs and ask them, or 4 or 5 programs, and ask them to describe the values of those that they can readily find and research?
How about we start with the pool, and then if you want to add something, I mean, if we're going to look at the pool, we're going to look at swim instruction, we're going to look at water aerobics, we're going to look at the swim team, we're gonna look at lap swimming, and we're gonna look at open swim. Those are the main, when you really look at
Aerobics, swim lessons.
swim lessons, water aerobics, the swim team, lap swimming, and open swim in no specific order. That's,
Yeah.
I mean, that's, if I were to look at swimming, that's what I would,
Describe the values of the district's programs. Lap, open, aerobics,
School.
school, and team.
that tends to be, I mean, almost everything here, except for like you said, the kayaking and
Right.
the scuba. And
But those are easily researched.
Yeah, and they're kind of like different times, I mean, like, they're not
Scuba diving is
daily.
not easily
Right.
researched.
That's why I didn't
Yeah,
include it.
and kayaking isn't either really.
Unless you have Pete's number.
You can put them both
Yeah.
on there.
In the
I-
interest, and I think this is what,
Yeah, I get
Yeah.
you.
when he was getting at, we need to make that a level
Okay, that's fine.
playing
Yeah.
field.
Okay.
So facilities, what do you want to do for facilities? Because
And the off-leash dog park and the
and
ball fields.
so describe the value of the pool, off leash, and ball fields.
And the one thing I would
To the
add
district.
under swim would be swim lessons.
That's in
That
was in there.
lab, open aerobics, swim school, and team. No. This is
No,
what
it's
we want
okay.
to we want to make sure we're all on the same page. That's why we're doing it. No, it's
For a
good.
reason. Centerpiece.
All right, so we have 3 situationals. Do we want to add more?
What about, okay, so it's the vocal groups, how would you handle openly? Okay, how about something where your employees do something illegal? Or, the,
Make comments to the paper?
That's not illegal.
it's not illegal.
So personnel
the
issues though. is
Personnel issue, some kind of personnel issue though. I'm thinking about the,
Hypothetical. I know what you're
yeah.
thinking about. Yeah.
so,
So we can't use that. You have 2 employees that stay after hours and use the hot tub when they're not supposed to.
How would
One's a
you
I
minor.
would stay away from that, man. I would stay away from that. I mean, use a way to say it without going to kids. I mean,
What do you mean?
well, forget it. You
Well,
can go
just-
down the road if you want.
Well, I don't understand. No, this is why we're talking about it.
Because it's too loosely connected to something that happened here.
Okay, give me something.
how about
something.
one of
Yeah.
your employees stays after hours and allows friends to come in and use the pool without supervision, and it's after hours. I don't think that's happened, right? He lets his friends, she lets their friends come in and they have.
No,
a
it would be
party.
the same thing.
Is it? Oh.
It'd be pretty closely related. So not using the pool facilities after hours.
Something about, breaking, don't the employees have a code of conduct?
Yes.
Yeah. Or they break a procedure, or they don't follow a procedure, or. So how would you handle employee misconduct, i.e.,
And those are all.
I think
Well, how
just
about-
if you're just asking how he would handle discipline with employees.
I don't know. First of all, I don't like that word.
Well,
So I
that's
would.
fine.
I mean, I think it's.
Yes, that's because I've been around the Navy for so long.
Yeah,
Probably.
it's like, I have no problem with the
Yeah,
term
see, I don't-
discipline.
yeah,
But
yeah,
it's
like,
not
I
deep.
I get it though. I
Yeah,
get it.
no, it's not. It's a little too parental for me. But I was trying to think of. Well, I mean, I think there are 2 ways you can go in terms of either like an employee dispute, or you hear rumors that an employee is whatever, or you hear rumors that. Sorry, I'm trying to.
No,
I'm trying to
I
craft
know.
Just all
something.
personnel issues. How would you handle personnel issues?
there you go.
Yeah, just ask that.
And then,
Okay, there you
and then
go.
we
But
should
see,
be able to ask add-on questions, shouldn't we?
Yeah, and further define.
But for me, the problem with, okay, first of all, these really aren't situational anymore, and that's fine. But let's not call them that.
Well, then let's stop.
But here's the thing: is the more general you put something, of course you have an answer for it.
Yeah.
Right.
It's really, I mean, it's kind of the like, I'm not trying to, but it's, well, what's the value of this? Well, it's very valuable. Oh, okay. Right? I mean,
Right.
it's that thing where it's like, play
Subjective.
back how you would answer those questions. And some of them are really, I found that with one of my own questions where I was like, man, once it's, started being answered, I was like, that's not really the question I meant to ask. And so some of these, you look at them and go, well, although there aren't right or wrong answers, you kind of, how would you handle personnel issues? Well, I would talk to the people, and sorry, I mean, you can
Okay,
make up
so
an answer.
how about this? We've got 3 defined, we'll call them situational for lack of a better word, A, B, and C. We have 3 defined options that we've come up with, that or 3 defined questions that we came up with. Steve made up a good point. We want to come up with questions after that. Leave it open after this point.
Okay.
We have a budget. We have a work product. We have 3 situationals, and then 2 questions from each commissioner.
So the same
Oh.
questions for each candidate.
They have to be.
They have to
and
be
that's
the
what I'm
same,
just
yes.
trying to- Sure, because
Yes.
the way it sounded
So-
on the fly.
Right.
But
No,
that
no,
is
no,
not-
no.
I think the law does differ on this. I mean, if they answered a certain way, you can ask add-on questions.
Yes, you can ask for that.
Related to what they say.
Right.
Yeah.
So they don't necessarily have to be the same. The core question has to be the same.
But the following questions may
Following
differ per
may
each
differ.
candidate.
Yes.
Okay.
But do we
So-
still want each commissioner to have 2 not following questions, but
2
2
questions.
questions.
Two
Do we want to do 2
Okay.
or 1? I'll leave that up to, I mean, it's up to all of us.
Can I throw
We
in
have
one
to
more
agree.
thing in here that we haven't asked yet? And
Yes, that's why we're talking about
Well, is why do you want this job?
Ooh, good one.
And I mean, I can make that my question if I need to.
We'll
but
make that the final question.
Okay.
If we all agree.
What was it again?
Why do you want this job?
Oh.
I mean,
Good
it's.
question.
So the final question is, why do you want this job? And how many questions would each commissioner like to ask after we do the,
Actually, since there's 5 of us and we've gone through all this stuff, maybe just 1, but come up with 2 so that we can make sure we're not asking the same thing.
I'm okay with that.
I'm good with that.
Good.
Because we're talking about 45 minutes right now
Yeah.
with the questions that we have, and if we get it too long,
Don't you think you're
not only are they going to get bored, but so are
oh,
we.
definitely.
Yeah.
It's just gonna be like really lengthy, 3 hours,
Each commissioner asks 1 question, have 2 available,
Yes.
with the final question, why do you want this job?
But Cecil, to just address something that you said about, gee, if it gets too long, I think it actually should be at this point. I feel like what happened last time is we got to the end a little quicker than I thought we were going to, and I mean for various reasons. But it was kind of like, did we ask everything? Are we comfortable? And well, ultimately, we decided as a board to make an offer, extend an offer, and that offer was not accepted. I feel like given that we have a good pool of candidates to work with, I feel like we should be exhausted at the end of this and feel like we individually know what needs to happen. You know what I mean?
And I
Like
can
before we
zero
meet
out some of the
again.
questions.
So it might be an hour and a half.
Yes. All right, so before we proceed any further,
Sorry.
did you want to,
Well, we have to give a total time of how long we're going to sit there and talk to each candidate anyway.
Absolutely.
And we haven't defined.
that's what we're doing. Let's define it. How long would you like to give?
Well, what's the time do we have for everything?
So we have 10 minutes on the first one, 15 on the second, so that's 25.
And that's where we stopped at.
Yes, sir.
And then we've got the 3 questions.
Yeah, but that's
three-
where we stopped for
For time.
allotted time.
Right.
Yes.
I would give
So
at
far.
least
Right.
5, probably 10 minutes for each one of those questions. All of them won't take that long. Or 7 minutes. 20 minutes for all 3.
Especially, they're gonna have the questions in advance, so,
20 minutes for all 3?
I think that's fair.
yeah.
Okay, so 20 minutes for the situational. So we're up to, you got a Marine doing math here. You really want to do this. 40 plus 15, that's going to be 55.
There you go. Nice job.
So now we're at 55 plus 1 question from each of us.
I would just call those 5 minutes just to do it.
5, 10, 15, 20.
Hour and 15 minutes
25.
total.
So that's 1:15 plus the final question, so we'll go an hour and 20 minutes.
That's fair.
So 1 hour.
Well, and then do
20
they
minutes.
have any questions for us? I think we
Maybe
have
an hour
to.
and a half.
Hour and a
Maybe an
half.
hour and a half.
Yeah.
So we'll make every interview an hour and a half.
Yeah.
We
I
all,
like that.
all in agreement?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Well,
No,
this
I
is
know.
what we're doing. We're getting this
Absolutely.
forward for the way
Oh, I
forward.
think it's the right thing. I just was whistling that,
But just as long as we've got it
endurance.
defined.
Absolutely.
Okay, now the next two things, what's the date we're doing the final interviews? I know I can
What?
count on you.
Okay. We got,
That's a budget meeting. isn't it?
budget meeting, regular meeting, where'd it go? Here. So, you know,
Way to zero in on that, Donna Sue.
well, it's like, there's all that pink.
2 weeks
I'm
from
not
today,
here.
how's that?
2 weeks?
I don't think 2 weeks.
How about a week?
Week is better, because then we, you know, they
You
should.
give them a week to
along.
prepare, is that
Yeah, I like that.
2 weeks? 2 weeks puts us into that budget week, and we want it to be done before that budget?
Okay, that's cool.
Because
We
we,
mentioned
remember,
that
we
in our
want them to
last-
walk through the
Well-
door.
I'm good.
You sure? Cecil?
I'll be here.
What date?
Thursday,
Well,
the
we're looking-
22nd.
We're looking at next week
Oh, I'm sorry, next Tuesday, the 20th, sorry.
is a week.
Next
I won't note it.
Tuesday, I
Okay.
cannot do it.
Okay, hold on. I can't notify these people tonight, so it
Okay.
can't happen until tomorrow.
Okay,
So a week from tomorrow will be the 21st. Can
Yes.
everybody do it the 21st?
yes.
Yes.
21st should be good for me.
Okay?
Why you're shaking your head?
I can't do it the 21st or the 22nd,
You
so,
have to be part of this.
yes.
It's all in, man. All in or nothing.
23rd is the next day, unfortunately, next week I have available.
What's the 23rd?
Friday.
Friday, and you're bad on Fridays, correct?
It's Oak Harbor's homecoming.
The
This Friday? I'm not gonna miss the homecoming.
16th is, yes, 16th is Oak Harbor's High School's homecoming football game.
Yeah, but we're talking about the 23rd.
Okay, well, I just wanna make sure. I'm good.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, I just don't wanna miss
Okay,
homecoming.
so 23rd, does anybody have any conflict with the 23rd?
Yeah.
23rd during the day or the 23rd in the evening?
That's the next question. What time
Okay.
do we want to do this?
Probably because it's going to take an hour and a half each, the, 5:15-ish, or, 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock. I like that. We could have pizza come in.
5 o'clock? So we're
Well, the
looking,
thing about it, if you start the meeting at 5 o'clock, you're looking at 8 o'clock for the last one to start. That's the soonest, so you're talking 9:30, and I don't think that's fair.
I think that we should move this thing till,
I would
yeah.
be better if we went until the following week.
okay,
Would you
In
want to do
all
it,
honesty,
do you want to do it during the day? Because that's always going to be an issue with starting.
I would say
Right.
start at 2 o'clock.
Okay. I mean, I'm fine with that, but I'm.
On the 23rd?
No,
The 27th.
give it, how about the 28th?
28th? That's a
We have the
Wednesday.
budget meeting on the 29th, correct?
28th would be okay.
28th is when the budget
Budget
meeting
meeting
is.
is.
Do they
Is
all
it?
have to be on the same day?
It would be best.
Okay.
What time's the budget meeting?
6 p.m.
6 PM on the 28th.